Hey guys, welcome to University of Pattern Drafting. My name is Umo, and today's tutorial is going to be on how to make this trendy Agbada with extended sleeves and then pleats. So this is what the full picture looks like. So before I start this tutorial, let me just explain a few things. So first off, I'm going to be drafting this pattern on paper because I don't want to go through the stress of having to use fabric, because it's going to be a long whatever of fabric. Then secondly, I'm going to be working with centimeters instead of inches because I want the camera to be able to capture the whole pattern all at once. Do you understand? So I'm working with centimeters instead of inches. So take note that whatsoever I'm saying that is centimeters, I actually mean inches. Okay, so first off, I've gone ahead to fold my paper into four. So just imagine this is your fabric. First off, fold it along the 60 inches. Usually Mikado or whatever satin fabric you're using is by 60, or sometimes some Mikado that by 70 anyways. But fold it into two along that 60 inches, and then depending on how long your length is, do you understand? Now fold it into two again by the length. Do you understand? So I'm going to be working with centimeters as I mentioned earlier. So first off, we're going to be drawing out the neckline. So for the neckline, I'm going to be using 3 by 4 inches. So 3 inches width and then 4 inches depth. Do you understand? So 3 by 4 inches first. You can use 3 by 3.5 inches, just depending on what you want. But 3 inches width is just okay. So for the back neckline will be 3 by 1, between 1 1/4 or 1.5 is okay. So 3 inches width and then 1.5 inches depth. Do you understand? So after drawing out the neckline, that's the front and then that's the back. Remember that in the picture there's actually a slit. Do you understand? So for that slit, we're going to be using 3 inches. Do you understand? You can use between 3 and 3.5 depending on how long you want that slit to be. But 3.5 inches is fine. So use 3.5 inches. And then for that slit, drop it. The length should be 3.5 inches. The width should be 1/4 of an inch. Can you see what I'm doing? So can you see that it's triangular? Do you get it? It's not just a slit that is straight. So it's slightly triangular. So just 1/4 of an inch for the width and then 3.5 inches for the depth of that slit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the neckline. Also, after cutting out the neckline, you also have to remember that you're going to face it. So we're not using bias. You can't use bias for this because it's going to be really rough. So you're going to have to face it. So to face it, just fold the fabric, fold a paper, you know. Okay, I'll show you what to do. I think I should just try to explain that differently. So I'm drawing out the shoulder width. Do you understand? Shoulder width is 8 inches. So for the extended sleeve, I've added another 8 inches. Do you understand? And then for the pleats, I've added another 10 inches. So that's 8 plus 8 plus 10. Do you understand? That's 26 inches in all at the shoulder. Do you understand? First off, note that there's no joining at the shoulder. So that's 26 inches. So that's 26 inches. If you want your sleeve way more extended than 8 inches, you can use between 8 and 10 inches. Gents, and depending on how much you want it to be extended. Okay, so now I'm going ahead to mark the vertical measurements. So first off, shoulder to bust point is 12 inches. That's what you can see me marking. Shoulder to waist, shoulder to navel. Remember that I always work with the navel. Shoulder to navel is 21 inches. And then from the navel to your hip line is 7 inches. So mark 28 inches. Your the knee length is 42 inches. So that's what I've marked. And then the full length is actually 60 inches. But if you notice from the picture, the hem is actually very big. Do you understand? So you can add between 5 to 6 inches for the hemline. So I've added 6 inches to my own. So in all, I have 66 inches. That's the full length of my paper. Do you understand that? So I'm going ahead to do the same thing so that I can have a straight line, straight and accurate line. So that's the same 66 inches. So now this is my knee length that I'm ruling out. Do you understand? This line is actually on the knee. So on From the shoulder to the hip line, mark that same 28 inches or 26 inches, whatever you use. Mark that same 26 inches up to the hip line. Do you understand? Mark that same 26 inches up to the hip line. So just transcribe that same measurement to the hip line. Do you understand that? Then on the knee line now, you mark your hip circumference divided by 4, which is your hip arc. So hip circumference is 46 divided by 4, that's about 11.5. So mark that, so that's 11.5. And then add the 10 inches for the pleats. Do you understand? So on this knee line now, we are excluding that's 8 to 10 inches for the extended sleeve. Do you understand that, guys? This is sort of like a cowl kaftan. Do you get? So whatever you marked on the knee line is what you should mark at the hem. Do you understand? So 11.5 plus 10 should have given me 21.5. That's what I marked on the knee line, and then I went ahead to mark that same 21.5 on the hem. Do you understand? So I've drawn a straight line to connect both. And then also at the top, mark that straight line. And then now use a curve, use your French curve to connect these 2 points, guys. Can you see that? Just place your French curve in a way that makes sense, and then it's probably easier. So just place it in a way that makes sense anyways, and then connect these 2 points. After doing that, you can go ahead and cut this out. Cut that out, and then cut your neckline out. So in cutting your neckline, first cut the back. After cutting the back, you open it. Do you understand? You now make it into 2, just the normal way you would do a butterfly neckline. Do you understand? Cut the back first totally, and then open it up, and then cut just the front. Can you see what I've done, guys? So cut the back. Ensure that you don't cut everything together so that you don't make a mistake. Okay, so I've gone ahead to do this, and then I've also cut the facing. So in cutting the facing, just fold it into 2. Leave it folded into 2, place your paper under, and then recreate the same shape. Then now go ahead to turn this, sew the facing right sides together to the fabric, to the shell fabric, and then turn it inside out and iron very, very, very well. Okay, so now we're going ahead to work on the pleats. So for the pleats now, I have drawn out so to create the pleats, I marked out my shoulder width, and then remember that we have 10 inches for the pleats. So the first pleat to be 5 inches, second pleat to be 5 inches. So I have gone ahead to mark out the 5 inches for the pleat. So what I did was these 2 lines that you can see is actually 13 inches from excuse me, from the center front. Do you understand? So after doing that, you now go in by 2.5 inches. That's what you saw me marking. So these lines that you can see are 13 inches from the center front, and then from that line go inside by 2.5 inches, guys. Do you understand that? So as I mentioned earlier, ensure that you cut your side. Do you understand? Cut out the shape the way it's supposed to be. And so, as I explained earlier, what I did was I first measured out my shoulder width, which was 8 inches, and then an extra 5 inches for the first pleat. So that's 8 inches, and then after that measure another 5 inches for the first pleat. So that's this line that you can see. Do you understand that? So you go ahead and do that on the other side. Same 13 inches. Can you see that? The same 13 inches. And then go ahead and transcribe the same measurements onto the other side. So you open up your fabric and then transcribe the same measurement onto the other side from the center from same 13 inches. So next thing is to mark that 2.5 inches inwards. After marking it, pick your fabric this way and then ensure that your fold is along that 2.5 inches mark. Do the same thing for the other side. Same 2.5 inches mark. So can you see that the pleats are forming really nicely? Then flip your fabric, and do that along the full length. So notice that there's no seam at the shoulder. There's no seam at the shoulder. So same thing, pick and then pleats, and ensure that as you're pleating, you're ironing. So pick and pleat, pick and pleat, pick and pleat. So ensure that you iron, and then after ironing, you're going to sew along that first line that we drew. Do you understand? Sew along that first line that we drew to create the pleats. So this is what it should actually look like after you have ironed it. So pick and pleat and then sew along that line. So for the second pleat is going to be 6 inches away from this fold. So it's going to be 6 inches away from the fold. And then for the second pleat is not going to go past the knee. Do you understand? Because the extra fabric that the extra allowance that we made for the pleats does not extend beyond the knee. So now we're going to mark 6 inches away from this fold. So I'm marking 6 inches away from the fold. And I'm going to draw out the line. So that's 6 inches, and then I'm just going to draw out a straight line. Notice that it sort of like aligns with where the 21.5 inches for the that we measured at the knee starts from. So this is what it looks like. And then the pleats for this second pleat is not going to get to the hemline. So we'll start at 2.5 inches, and then the pleats will just keep thinning out to about a quarter of an inch, or sort of whatever you want it to be. So it just starts at 2.5 inches, and little by little it just thins out. So this is what the lines are going to look like. So you just draw the line along the full length for both the front and the back. If you are not subscribed at this point, please ensure that you pause right now and hit the subscribe button. And if you found this video helpful, please ensure that you give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. So I'm flip your fabric to the other side, and then do the same thing at the other side. So the same 6 inches at the other side. So now after that, go in again by another 2.5 inches, just the same way we did at the other side. So go in by 2.5 inches so that we can create the midpoint for the second pleat. So at the shoulder, go in by 2.5 inches. Remember that I said the pleat is going to thin out as you get towards the knee. Do you understand? So you have to know how to manipulate your fabric to be able to create that effect. This is paper, so it's not as malleable as fabric. But on your fabric, you should be able to manipulate your fabric in such a way that you'll be able to create that effect. So basically, same thing, pinch and then pleats, pinch and pleats, pinch and pleats. So look at what it is looking like. Can you see how nice it is looking already? So this is basically what this is basically how to go about this style. So same thing, the way we did for the first plate, ensure that you iron. When you iron, you are able to see, it's just a lot more neater. Your pleats is a lot more neater, and then you can see clearly what you're actually supposed to sew on. Do you understand? Since it's a long strip of fabric, long and very wide strip of fabric. So same thing again, pinch and pin. You know, we went in by 2.5 inches. So again, pinch and pin, pinch and pin, pinch and iron, sorry, pinch and iron, pinch and iron. So this is basically what it is. So next thing now is to remember that we have 6 inches for the hem. So you can whip the edge of the fabric and then fold it in once. And fold it upwards and just hem it, just one hem, or you can, decide to do what you want to do. So now the next thing now is to stitch the sides. Next thing is to stitch the sides. So this is what I was talking about when I said the pleat is not going to go past the knee. So this is basically what it looks like. Look at how nice it already is. Do you understand? So now go ahead and then hem your 6 inches. And then after that, we're going to sew up the side. So first off, to sew the side, measure from the shoulder 11 to 12 inches, depending on how big the client is, 11 to 12 inches from the shoulder. So that's your allowance for the armhole, for the sleeve, sorry. And then for at your hem, remember that we have 6 inches for the hem, and then we should have an 8 inches slit. So that's making 14 inches. So measure from your hemline 14 inches upwards. That's where your stitching should stop. So you're going to be stitching along those lines. Do you understand? Just a very tiny seam allowance, maybe about half an inch or something like that. Do you understand? So this is basically what this is basically how to go about this style. If you found this video helpful, please ensure that you hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed at this point, please ensure that you go ahead and subscribe. So that is the hemline. You hem it up first before sewing it up. So start your, that's the 8 inches for the slits, or you can make it higher, maybe 10 inches or whatever you want to do. But I think 8 inches is fine. So thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.